The room was quiet, too quiet for the tension it carried. The kind of silence that made even the walls seem like they were holding their breath. The Senate hearing was supposed to be routine, a standard exchange of ideas, policies, and debates. But on this day, something shifted. Cameras were rolling, journalists were scribbling, and every eye in the room was on Senator John Kennedy, who leaned forward with that unmistakable mix of Southern charm and razor-edged steel in his voice. At the other end of the long mahogany table sat Senator Amy Klobuchar, known for her composure and methodical approach to politics. She had walked into the hearing ready to deliver her points, confident she could parry whatever was thrown her way. What she didn't anticipate was Kennedy's fire. He wasn't just speaking, he was unleashing years of pent-up frustration about broken promises, political games, and the quiet suffering of the very people they had all sworn to represent. It began with a single question, simple, piercing, and impossible to ignore. "Senator Klobuchar," Kennedy drawled, "how do you look the American people in the eye and tell them this mess we're in is progress?" The room shifted uneasily. Klobuchar adjusted her notes, ready with a rehearsed answer. But before she could respond, Kennedy launched into what could only be described as an epic, unrelenting rant. His voice rose with each sentence, his words cutting through the still air like lightning. He talked about families crushed under the weight of inflation, small businesses drowning in red tape, and farmers watching their land wither away while Washington played political chess. Klobuchar sat still, her lips pressed tight, forced to listen. She had options: interrupt, argue, dismiss. But Kennedy's intensity left no space for maneuvering. He wasn't reading from a script. He wasn't angling for applause. He was speaking from a raw place, one forged by years of listening to people who felt ignored, people who didn't have lobbyists or PACs, but who had real stories, hard stories, that demanded a voice. As Kennedy spoke, the emotion in his tone shifted from anger to something deeper, heartbreak. He told the story of a single mother he'd met in Louisiana, working 2 jobs and still unable to afford basic healthcare for her child. He painted the picture of a veteran who'd served his country but now lived out of his truck because bureaucracy had stolen his benefits. He reminded the room that while they debated policies in comfortable leather chairs, millions of Americans sat at their kitchen tables wondering if they'd make it through the month. The rant wasn't reckless, it was controlled, deliberate, and relentless. Kennedy's words flowed like a river, each one crashing harder than the last. Klobuchar's expression wavered, the cracks in her composure barely visible but real. She could disagree with his politics, she could challenge his solutions, but she could not escape the truth in his storytelling. F.O.